All right, how about that? Sorry about that, everybody. I am on my travel computer and I am hitting the wrong buttons, but welcome to roughly every Tuesday. We do a live show where I take your questions for about an hour. I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX and I'm in a hotel room, so I don't have my usual setup, which means my camera's moving a little slow, but hopefully you can hear my voice pretty well. The voice is more important than the face in this low lighting. It is 6 in the morning here in Arizona, and I am still waking up, but luckily I have a camera that has a little filter on it, so I look a little fresher than I feel. I also lost my voice about 2 weeks ago, and I don't think it's totally come back, which does not bode well for Friday's karaoke adventure. But I am here to take your questions, and you are welcome to ask them at deltacx.com/links, which is on the top of the screen. Oh, let me reload this. My travel computer is struggling a little bit today. And also for you Patreons, if you are mid level or higher, you have your own special way to ask a question if you want to move to the top of the pack. And that is cxcc.to/AMAQ. And that will dump you in our special Discord channel for mid level Patreons and higher. Join our Patreon. It's up here on the screen, patreon.com/CXCC. You can join for free, and it's like being on our mailing list, or you can pay as little as $1 a month. So let's get this first question up and see what it says. This says, how can we assess whether a candidate's values and priorities align with the company's mission, culture, and principles during the hiring process? It seems if a candidate has done their research, they can game the interview by simply saying what the hiring team wants to hear. This is a lovely question and one I don't think we've had before. So thanks to the person who asked it, a mid level Patreon, perhaps, or maybe senior. I think that the way that you can do this is to ask for examples. So if you were looking for a time when they had to be honest, even when being honest was tough because honesty is your value, ask them about a story when. You can't just say, are you honest? Or what are your personal values? Because you're right, if they've done a little digging or they know you just want to hear positive words, then anything sounds like a good answer. But tell me about a time when chips were down or something was tough and you chose to be honest or chose to have integrity or chose to show empathy or chose to be transparent. And what happened after that? If they're used to getting questions about what are your personal values or top 3 personal values, sorry, my on screen graphics are sad today. My travel laptop is a little overwhelmed. I'll have to fix that before the next show. Um, so I think that's really probably the best way is to ask for a story that illustrates this rather than just saying, what are your personal values? Or what do they mean to you? Or how would you exhibit these? Find out about when they did. You might benefit from go- globosa tea. Um, Possibly not. Um, just because it's usually if I lose my voice, it's back in like a day, and this has been like just certain frequencies, and it's been for about 2 weeks. I'm also deathly allergic to caffeine, so if that is a tea with caffeine, that's going to be a no. And I'm in America, and if it's not gluten free, that's also going to be a no. So, but thank you, Ana Lucia. I know you know the remedies, so I'm not sure. I really don't know what this is. And again, it's just you can hear I have a voice, but it does sound like it's a little rough. And when I try to sing, certain frequencies just crack, which is not normal for me since I'm usually singing 27 hours a day. So. Oh well. And thanks for putting up with the bad lighting here in the hotel room before. I guess has the sun come up? Yeah, I guess if you look outside, the sun is just about come up here in Arizona. So I hope that helps for the person who asked the question. I do have another question that came in ahead of time. You're welcome to ask your questions in the chat or through these other anonymous ways, totally up to you. This question says, let's get it all on the screen. Hey Wilson, I remember your plus red. I think that was your Twitch name too. Um, so yeah, put up your question, Wilson. I'll happily take that one next. Yep, don't worry. And YouTube only lets you do like 200 characters at a time, so you may have to put it in a few blocks. Okay, this question came in ahead of time through deltacx.com/links, and it said, I'm a UX researcher in a telecom company. Our main app, which has been used by about 500,000 people for years, will be completely updated with a new design and a new functionality. I will start with usability testing of the new app prototype. Can I check with the users if they like the old app better or the new one? I know there's a good and not so good way to ask this. So, how should I ask it? Also, what other activities can I do to make sure users will be okay with the new app and won't face too many problems? Super question. Thank you so much for asking it. So, here's some advice that I have for you. First of all, when we are usability testing, we want to make sure not just that people eventually make it through, but make it through well, easily. Maybe even delightfully, without problem, question, hesitation, confusion. Think about our old friend, the four horsemen of bad UX, which I can try to put up, but my system is very sad. Here they are. Frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. So we are checking for these things. We're not just checking for did they eventually stumble through. We want to make sure we're doing task based research where people have to go into an app prototype or a dev build or whatever it is and give them common tasks that people might do in the app. You are here to pay your bill. And of course, you have to remind them it probably won't be their real information. It might be sample or fake information. But sorry, I'm getting a message. But we want to make sure that they can get through common tasks easily, that they know where to find those tasks and they can do them without problems. If they do them, but they stumble through and they're confused, maybe they hit the wrong button, maybe they end up in the wrong place, that's a sign that the design isn't ready. That's not a sign that people need more tooltips or more help or more training. It's a sign that that the design needs to improve in those areas. So another thing you can do is don't like under deliver your report or your findings or your insights. Don't say, oh, it's pretty good, it just needs a few small changes. If you saw some real problems with people getting through these tasks, make sure you're honest and say, this task didn't go well at all for most or everybody. This might need to be redesigned. It really didn't make sense to people. They didn't know how to pay their bill. So make sure you're looking at common tasks that people can do, and then you can see how they get through it. So remember, this is more observational research than what people say. So I typically don't ask people, hey, was that easy to do? Because usually they'll be like, yeah. Nobody wants to admit something was difficult. Oh, hello to my husband. Um, I know my camera is slow. I've overwhelmed it a bit. Remember, we don't want to go by, do you think this is easy? Do you think this looks nice? Do you like it? These are not good usability testing approaches. We really want to make sure people can do tasks, find where they are, get them done. And we'll put Ana Lucia's question after Wilson's. Um, and what else are you asking? There was kind of a sub question there. How do we check if they like the older new app better? You can usability test both. You can say you're going to see two prototypes. Now, you're going to need a prototype of the old app if you don't have it. I don't know if you can ask people to install an app on their phone that they might not have, or if they have it already, you can lean on that. But the problem is you might ask them to pay a bill and their bill's already paid. So you might need a prototype representing the tasks you would have them do in the existing app. And you'd say, now I'm going to show you another prototype and we're going to do the same tasks. And so you'll have them do the tasks and they'll have problems, they'll have triumphs. And then at the end, you can say, which of those two prototypes now you can ask this question a bunch of different ways based on what you're looking for. You might say, which of these did you prefer? Which is an open question where they get to judge it based on what their preferences are about. Or you can narrow them in on something like, which of these prototypes was easier to use? Which of this prototype seemed to have a better process? You can ask something like that to get them more focused in on which one did you prefer, because sometimes people like the one that's prettier, even if it's not easier to use. They don't even think about how easy or hard something was. So I try to narrow them in more on which of these prototypes had a better way of doing things or a better process. Then they have to think about ease, confusion, and other things. So you can show them both. Sometimes what I do to not bias people is I'll pick an even number of participants, maybe 6 or 8, and I'll give half of them the new one first, and I'll give half of them the old one first. And that way we don't end up with any of those biases where people prefer the first one they saw, or people prefer the second one they saw because now that was easier to do because they already saw the first one. And so by half of people seeing half, you can try to eliminate or reduce that bias. So let me know if that answers your question. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. I will check for people sending in stuff. Um, but hopefully that helps. So let's see. Wilson's got a question. Let's see. It's over a couple of screen. So give me a moment to copy and paste it, and then we'll get it on the screen. And Wilson, just remind me, you're still a designer at your job, or are you doing research, or remind me what's going on there, because I guess I think of you as a designer. Um, all right, let's see. Okay, here we go. And Wilson might add more details, but let's see what we've got. I was wondering if you had experience creating high-level personas for multiple products that could be reused by everyone in the company. You will be amazed to find that someone asked me this question yesterday at my new job. Wilson, perfect timing. Amazing. Wilson says, I started a spreadsheet to track down all the products and personas that currently exist. I'm keeping in mind which personas are reliable or not, as in not done by guesses or assumptions. My next step is to form common goals and pain points, clusters, themes to start creating 5 high-level personas. So again, amazingly, someone asked me this question yesterday at my new job, so I'm going to give you the same answer. The answer is you can try. The problem is that personas are usually not actionable. They end up dumping people in buckets that don't really help us strategize. Thank you, Nicoleshwari, for buying my book. Very sweet. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you have questions. So Wilson, back to your question. The problem is that personas, when done poorly, are highly demographic. This person is 50-ish. She has no kids. She drives this kind of car. She makes this much money. She likes products made by the platypus company. Hashtag not sponsored. Um, so, what can you do based on that? Can you always ask yourself when you look at a persona, could we strategize based on this? Could we prioritize what's right for this person? Do we know what to design? Do we know what our product strategy should be? If the answer is no, these personas are, you probably heard my voice miss that frequency. These personas are probably not good. And you can throw them away. If we can answer some of those questions with our persona and we can say, yeah, you know what, this persona has some better information, and yeah, we do have a sense of what needs to be prioritized for this person, we do have a sense of how to design for this person, then that could be a good persona. Again, even if a persona isn't made from guesses, it can still be bad. So I always try to include when I'm doing traditional personas, I try to include some aspect of their tasks, their real goals, not these fluffy goals you sometimes see in personas. You know, she needs to buy a water bottle. That's a jobs to be done level job. That's way too general for me to know how to strategize or prioritize or design. Okay, she needs a water bottle, but what about it? What's she doing with it? Is there context? What works for this person? What doesn't? So, the answer that I'm going to be giving the person at my job is the best personas are behavioral typologies, where we're not looking at demographics, we're looking at how they tend to act, make decisions. Maybe collaborate with others. Things that Larry's talked about in our task analysis shows back on the Delta CX channel, where we talked about user profiles. So the best personas are going to be behavioral. Hey, Rima, congrats on the new job. Um, the best personas are behavioral typologies where we're grouping people by how they tend to act and make decisions. I'm a 50-year-old woman with no kids who lives in a house who makes X dollars, but if I shop for a motorcycle pretty much the same way that a 20-year-old guy does, um, should we still be looking at demographics and age and ethnicity? So sometimes those are relevant, very often they're not. But what about behavior? If I behave the same as this other person, that's the better bucket to put us in, and that's the right persona in that sense. So the problem with trying to make general personas that the whole company can rely on is that your company or system or products might have different product areas, might have different tasks. And as Larry points out in his user profiles video and in the book he has coming out, is that people have different profiles based on the knowledge and experience that they have in whatever area it is. If I'm in Microsoft Excel, which is an example Larry uses, there's lots of stuff that I'm pretty good at in Microsoft Excel, and I've been using it since 1994. And someone might say, wow, Debbie's really a power user of Microsoft Excel. And I could get lumped into a persona of power users. But what if I've got to use Power BI, which is a more advanced Excel function? I don't know how to use that at all. I might not even be pronouncing it correctly. Am I still a power user? What was the perspective with which we made that decision that I'm a power user? I'm a power user when you don't need me to use Power BI, but if I have to use that feature, I am not a power user. I'm a super noob. So the problem with trying to come up with these general personas, and you're welcome to show your workmates this part of the video, is that it's very hard to put people in meaningful buckets. We could put them in meaningless buckets. We could say, hey, we have some women using this, and we have some homeowners using this, and we have some newbies using this, and we have some experienced people using this. Okay, but are they actionable? Is that helping you strategize, prioritize, make decisions, design products? If it's not, these personas probably aren't helping and aren't worth it and could end up making people go in the wrong direction. So that is my very long answer for that question. I hope it helps. Let me know if you have a follow-up. Hello to Wilson's workmates, who I hope will be watching the video. Let's get Ana Lucia's question up. And then I'll also check for anonymous questions coming in through our various methods. Okay. Ana Lucia says, I'm currently coding my portfolio as a UXR. Do you have any tips or must-have lists that you would personally check out about the portfolio itself that I should have in mind while coding? I assume you mean coding as in writing HTML? You don't have to. You can use something like WordPress. Um, Yes, the things I tend to look for are in episode 148 on the other YouTube channel, Delta CX. So if you go to YouTube and you write Delta CX 148, you should get that video. I don't know if that's one you've already seen before, Ana Lucia. But oh, a purple flower from a former singer. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Um, I don't know if you saw that video, but that's like an hour-long video on pros and do's and don'ts from the portfolios I tend to see. I recorded it probably a year or so ago, but I think it's still relevant and the best video to watch when it comes to advice about portfolios. Ah, we do have anonymous questions. Uh, no, we don't. It's the one about the telecom company. I thank you for your answer. I'm the telecom researcher. I can do the usability testing with users who use the current app. They're used to it. The approach you mentioned, testing two prototypes with users who've never used it. So here's the thing. Anna, that's kind of my question. I hope that's going to be okay to send you to episode 148. You know, you can always contact me behind the scenes. And Wilson says, thank you for the informative answer. It was very helpful. I do have a follow up. Okay, let me take the follow up from the first person and then we'll take Wilson's follow up. So here's our follow up from our first person. And let me just put that on our question list so that we're not, so it shows up in the YouTube description later. Okay, so in general, it's always best to do usability testing where possible with people who aren't your customers because they know the app pretty well. They know the system, they've used the system, they'll appear to use the current app really well because they're used to it. Even if it's a freaking disaster, people often get into the habit of putting band aids on it and knowing how it works, even if it works ridiculously. So it's always best to be usability testing with people who fit your target audience, people who could be customers of your telecom company, but for some reason aren't. Now, if you're the only telecom company in the town or the region and they don't have a choice, then it's a little bit harder. You might have to work with those people, the existing customers. But if you can get telecom users from another region who fit your target audience, like, hey, they're not from our town, they're from this other town, but they're just like our customers. You know, they're mostly farmers or they're mostly university students or whatever your town seems to have a lot of. You can use people from another town. Oh, that's the gong. Disregard that. We're not doing a 22-minute show today. I forgot to set the timer. Um, so I would say better to use non-customers where possible. The customers will breeze through your current app, even if it is a disaster and should be illegal. So no matter what type of, I would say do one test and show half the people the old one first, show half the people the new one first, get an even number of people so it's even, and don't bother a separate test showing existing customers the new one, because this could be a better way to go where people who have no knowledge of your app at all, because the existing customers will probably be initially thrown by how it's different from the app. Now, again, you could run that study, no points off, but you're probably going to end up collecting a lot of nerves. You know, wait a minute, this doesn't look like the old app. Where do I do this thing? And you just have to let them breathe into it and just say, yeah, it is a different way to go. Don't say we think it's better. Don't say we worked hard on it. Just say, yep, it is different. And please just, please just use it the way you think it should work. That's it. Don't bias it with we think it's better. We worked hard on it. We hope you like it. That's biasing. So don't say those things. All right. Let's take a look at Wilson's follow-up question. And there we go. And let's put it in the YouTube description. All right. Thank you for the informative answer. It was very helpful. I do have a follow-up. Of course, I don't mind. I welcome follow-ups. I'm here until the top of the hour, about another half hour. My manager is suggesting that I look at products that have the most users and make the most sales. Okay, you can narrow in on where the company makes its most of its money, and you can see if there are common behaviors in those products or product areas. What are some of the common reasons people are using those products or product areas? How do they behave? Are there people who need collaborators? Maybe that's a persona, people who work alone versus people who need collaborators because their behavior will be different. I'm just guessing. Sometimes I've noticed that depending upon what this product is, and maybe you can remind me, um, or generally, sometimes it's how much effort people put in. There are low effort people who don't try very hard. There are high effort people who work really hard to get this right and they double check their work. These levels of effort are behaviors. So I would say, even if you are going to focus in on a product area, see if you can figure out some common, sorry about my system being so slow and wonky today. Um, Oh, I see what Anna is saying. Okay, hold on, Anna Lucia. I see your question. Sorry, I always make you Italian. Anna Lucia. Um, you'd be Anna Lucia, like my cousin Lucia. So, yeah, you can certainly do this, Wilson, but remember, try to look for common behaviors, common tasks, common approaches. Think about what Larry taught us in our task analysis: tools, knowledge, and workaround. Knowledge. Hey, this is what people tend to do when they don't know a lot. This is what people tend to do when they're super veterans and they know a lot. So you might see behaviors broken up by that. The key is to take a look at your customer base, observing them when possible, not guessing about them, but trying to take a look at breaking the personas up by the behaviors and the efforts that they put in. I hope that helps. I was showing someone yesterday the best set of personas I've ever done were heavily based on the tasks the people do and who they tend to do them with and why they do them. So that's why I want to stress that to me, personas aren't, Debbie drives a 2008 car that doesn't work very well and drinks out of a platypus brand bottle. Hashtag not sponsored. It's much better to go by behavior. Debbie is a thorough researcher type of personality. She doesn't make rash decisions. And when she's got a reason to be in our system, she tends to spend a little more time to make sure she's done it right. She expects it to be fast and easy because her time is valuable and her job is checking how much she got done that day. Now I'm making stuff up. So you see where something like that could make you say, oh, wait, okay, hold on. This person really cares about efficiency. More might not be more, and slower is not going to be better. I can make a decision based on these things. Okay, Ana Lucia's follow-up says, no, this is more about coding. I'm coding with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I don't know why. My question was really related to the visual design of the portfolio. Standards are not as high as if I were a UX designer, but I have to have a couple of mandatory things like making sure it's responsive. Yeah, I would say responsive, test it in different browsers on different computers. How does it look in Firefox on Windows? How does it look in Chrome on Windows? How does it look on Safari on a Mac? How does it look on an Android phone? How does it look on an iPhone? This is why going with a pre-made system like a WordPress is often better, because you're not writing the code and you aren't technically responsible for doing all that testing. They've already tested their system. I use Divi in WordPress, hashtag not sponsored. It's an add-on that makes making WordPress pages easier. And that's already been tested. You can also preview it as if you're on a phone or a tablet, and so you can get a sense of how it's going to look and you can fix it. So, yeah, responsive for sure. As for visual design, I don't mind if someone's portfolio is plain if they're not claiming to be a designer. So to me, you mostly want to make sure you have what we call visual hierarchy. Do you have a clear big headline that tells me what this section is about? Do you have a clear subheadline that tells me what this subsection is about? Do you have short paragraphs and some bullet points so this is easy for me to read and scan? So, do you have good spacing between things so I don't feel like this page is cluttered and tight? Yeah, that I hope that helps. I hope I'm going in the right direction for that. We've got a bunch of questions from KB. Hello in KB. Hello, KB, wherever you might be. Thanks, Wilson. Let me just paste your question and clean up some of the formatting, and then I'll paste it on the screen. And oh, I think it just came in as a anonymous question too. Okay, sorry, just seeing it now. Hold on, let me copy and paste it from that. Okay, we had the telecom person. Okay, and we have this other person. Okay. Oh, is this the time zone challenges one? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to paste for the anonymous version. I think that one's a little easier to copy and paste than the broken up one, but we'll take a look at both of them to see if they say the same things or different things. All right. Let's see. I lead a design team across the UK and Australia. The company I work for is committed to retaining developers in India and nowhere else. Apart from time zone challenges, it's difficult to enable true collaboration and ensure the quality of design at the implementation stage. I'm not optimistic working with offshore devs who produce results along the lines of mediocre functionality and very poor consideration for form despite hi-fi design handover. Do you have any advice? Absolutely. I do. I have heard things like this before, so I am sorry to hear that you're going through this. And again, I have seen this before. So this is a problem that sometimes exists, and I would say this is a problem of process and quality. So, what is going on in the engineering department that your engineering leaders are okay with mediocre functionality? I would definitely want to have some talks with my own manager and maybe even meet with my manager and an engineering manager or even a higher level engineering manager who might be based in your country and talk about the output and outcomes of these teams. And the bottom line is if they want to work with people in India, that's fine. There are many incredibly talented people in India. It just sounds like they have selected some people who are either less talented or less motivated or more junior and maybe talented, but still figuring this out. And that they've probably done this to be cheap, and that's their choice. It's fine if you want to be cheap, but it doesn't mean we have to be bad. So I would definitely be having some conversations with management. I wouldn't talk to the developers themselves. This might be the best they can do. I would be going to leadership and talking about um, we are having problems getting good code out of these people. First, focus on the code. You know, I understand that we're worried about design and whatever. First, focus on the quality of the code. We're finding that the quality of the code is poor. We're finding that there are often bugs that are making people have to call or email customer support. We have a huge surge in customer support tickets. Now, don't make it up. Go talk to customer support, see if this is true. It's really burning customer support's time, which also costs our company money. It's making our customers unhappy, which definitely costs our company in reputation. And if you can find out if people are downgrading or leaving due to these problems, that's great to know. Hey, some people have even left our company because our systems are now so slow or unreliable or things just don't work right or they get a lot of error messages. Find out what's really going on and present that. Say number one, I'm concerned about the quality of the code, and especially if we think we are agile. Agile cares about the quality of the code. It has to be working software, and in some cases this isn't working software. My voice cracked again. um let's see. Okay, this is coming in. And so that's the first conversation to have. And then the second conversation to have is to say, additionally, these part of these people's job is to take a design from me or my team and to reproduce that in in the code. And they're not doing that. Unfortunately, we're giving them a vetted completed, finalized design. We're giving it to them with extreme detail so that there are no questions about how this looks or works, and they are not following those instructions. I don't know why someone is posting personal data protection bill, but it seems spammy. Um, So, to the person who asked the anonymous question, I would say, when it comes to the collaboration with UX, all they have to do is reproduce exactly what we've given them. Anything they do that does not reproduce exactly what we've given them is technically a break in process, a failure, and possibly low quality. So, developers hired from India might have been costing your company way too cheap, and it might be the reasons they don't care. Oh, this is me. Oh, hi. This is what I would be also saying is that sometimes we hire a company because they're cheap, but they don't love being cheap. So sometimes I've actually seen where they are not that great on purpose. Because if they're not that great on purpose, and I'm not saying they're doing this is just a possibility, then you need them more. Hey, you built that thing last month, but it needs all these fixes. Oh, now we need them. And they get to bill more hours. So, yeah, I have, I've, Mohammed, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm really lost. I don't know what you're asking. These are usually questions about CX and UX, so I'm not too sure why you're asking about 10 years of data. Um, please help me understand your question. Okay, so I hope the person asking the anonymous question has got some ideas, but I would definitely be speaking to your manager along with engineering leadership, especially who might be above the people in India, might be overseeing them, because they might be getting reports from the teams in India. We're doing great. We're on time. We're just fantastic. We're everything you needed. They may or may not be finding out from customer support that there's a lot of problems, or sales that we're losing people, or UX that the collaboration is poor and the quality is low. They may or may not know this. So I would make sure to bring in an engineering leader above those people and talk about quality issues. Keep it focused on quality. Don't talk about your opinions. Don't talk about your feelings. Feelings are important, but I find if you talk about them, people get lost in, ooh, this is how you feel. And so I try to bring things to people unemotionally and just facts. This is what's going on with these engineering teams. We are giving them absolutely clear designs that they must follow, and they don't. Um, they they're doing poor work, and we believe that they're going to need some, if you want to keep using this outsourced company, they're going to need a lot more oversight, and they're going to need to be told that they're judged not only on speed but on quality. Otherwise, if you just judge them on speed, they'll do a mediocre job, which requires them to fix it later, which is more time and money for them. So sometimes when we think going with another country or culture or region is cheap, it sometimes can cost more because of some of the quality issues that we get. And this is beyond India. I'm not just pointing a finger at India. This could be any country. Okay, there you go. I hope that helps. Let's see what other questions have come in. I still don't understand Mohammed's question. Did I miss any other questions or follow-ups? Ana Lucia says, yes, that's what I'm looking for. It looks simple and clean with just enough to have a responsive menu. I'm not a coder, but I can get by. And again, I don't expect a UX researcher to write code. So to me, even if you say on your website, I coded it myself, I kind of don't care because I'm never going to ask a UX researcher to write code. So you can certainly do it for your own practice, but I don't need you to write code or prove or show that you can. So this is Q&A AMA, which I usually do every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Italy time. It's, sorry, 3 p.m. Italy time. It is 6 in the morning here in Arizona. I am traveling, which is why I'm in a hotel room. It's 6:40 in the morning. I'll be here a few more minutes. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask them live in the chat. You can also use the link up top, deltacx.com/links for our longer and anonymous questions. And if you're a mid-level Patreon member or higher, you get priority questions, regular or anonymous, in our CXCC Discord, which is free to join, but it's read only if you're not a paid Patreon member, which starts at $1 per month. KB says, thanks, that's super helpful. Clarifying that the devs are my Indian colleagues employed by the same company. That's fine. Whether they're outsourced or part of your company, poor work is poor work. If I'm doing poor work, we need to talk about it. Poor work is poor work or mediocre. So make sure you're going to someone who oversees them and is likely to care that their work is poor or mediocre, and is likely to understand the ramifications of how that's going to slow the project down later, or require the project to need fixes or patches, or require customer support to deal with this, or require sales to try to save people who want to leave, etc. Praveen says, how and where to keep old design files? Do you mean old design files for designs that you're not looking at anymore? These are just archives? Um, because if so, there's lots of possibilities. Oh, old design files which might be required in the future for new people joining to see. Okay, so they have to be in an archive, but they can't be hidden away so deep that nobody can get to them. So I've seen companies do a lot of different things. There's no one right way to do this. Some people do use sort of file repositories. Some companies use Google Drive. They put things on some sort of shared drive. That shared drive might be physically located in your company's office and everyone connects to it. It might be a cloud based storage, like an Amazon Web Services or a Google Drive, Google Cloud type of thing. The new job I've recently started looks like they keep a lot of things on Google Drive. Um, and if you are using Google Workspace, you get a lot of nice data privacy and protections that I think the average person using Google doesn't get. So you might want to make sure somebody's paying for the Google Workspace system. Microsoft has SharePoint, so you can put files up there. Why is my watch vibrating? Is there something I'm missing? Oh, my dogs are going in and out of their house. Okay. To me, there isn't a bad place as long as everyone has access to it and can get into it. If you're a Microsoft 365 Office kind of company, you're probably using SharePoint and Microsoft's cloud services. If you're more of a Google Workspace company, you're probably using Google Drive. Some people might use Dropbox or Box. Does Box still exist? I haven't heard about them in a long time. To me, ultimately, you can't go wrong. Where people go wrong here is they don't give people the right access or permissions to stuff. They don't have things in good categories and folders, so it's really hard to find things later. Categorize things by things that are logical and make sense to people, like the product area, rather than what year you did it. I don't know what year you did it. I just know I need to see all the design files that relate to our checkout. So, best to organize them by the product area they relate to or the problem they were trying to solve rather than what year you did them or what the project number was. Remember, think about what Larry Marine says about knowledge design. You don't want to create a universe where people don't have the knowledge. They don't know where to find these things because you didn't make it easy, because you organized it in some way that doesn't match how people think. So that's what I would say there. Thank you, Praveen. We still have about 10 minutes together, so if anybody has a question, you will be first on the list. I'll go check if there's any emails that have come in that I've missed. And let me know if you've asked a question and I haven't answered it. Let me know if I missed anything here. Hmm. I'm checking for questions. I don't see any right now. Let's see. All right, I don't see, we've got KB. Is that a KB? I don't have my glasses on, and they won't even help. So let's see. Let's ask K somebody's question. K8, KB. This is like when I go to the thing to get my glasses checked, and they're like, "What letter is that?" I'm like, B8. Usually I look at a letter and I say something round. I know the optometrist loves when I say that. Okay, what would you say are the key elements of a design strategy? Okay, so I think it depends whether we are looking at that as the design of an individual product or feature, like how high level are we going here? But I would say for a design strategy, you're going to need, first of all, what problem are we solving? If we are not strategic problem solvers, then chances are someone just told us what to make. And that means you could have a strategy, but you're probably not going to end up being particularly strategic because you can't really make the strategy. Someone's told you what to do. So I would say that a design strategy starts with what problems are we solving? These might be company goals to increase revenue. These might be user goals, but for something to be better, easier, faster, or to exist for the first time if this product or feature wasn't there before. So first, what problems are we solving? Because you want to check later that your design solves those. I think too many people go into, hey, just build this feature, and then they build the feature and they go, okay, I guess I'm done. I built a feature. Did we really solve the original problem? That's where this can be more strategic. If we didn't solve the original problem, what are we doing? This is the worst type of feature factory in that case. So for starters, problem statements written from customers and users' perspectives. This is the problem we're solving. Then we need some sort of plan of how we're going to attack that. How long are you spending on design? How many rounds of testing are you doing? What happens if the testing, if we're at our last round of testing and it still looks like this isn't ready? Do we ship it anyway, or do we get more time? So what is our strategic approach to the project? How long will this project take a designer, and what is that designer doing and why? I think of that as a strategic approach to a project. It also sets engineering up for an idea of when they're going to get these design files or prototype or something that can be turned into tickets or user stories. Oh, thanks for clarifying. You're welcome, Praveen. Oh, and hey, everybody, don't forget to subscribe here to the channel, CXCC, CX-CC on YouTube. So please subscribe. My voice keeps cracking. I'm so sorry. And we're doing karaoke on Friday with my new coworkers, and my voice is cracking. I sound like a 14-year-old boy. Sorry, 14-year-old boy. I know a few. So anyway, my husband's cousins. Um, Key elements of a design strategy. Sometimes a design strategy includes our design principles. What are the key things we're going to make sure we do here? Is accessibility part of those principles? Then strategically, we have to make sure that this meets our accessibility standards. If it doesn't meet those standards, the design's not done. So think about some of these things that we might have as design principles or design standards. To me, a strategic approach to design includes these and upholds these. If we are being rushed so badly that we can't uphold our own standards, we need to say something about that. Maybe put it in our risk documentation and say, look, this is the UX department's design principles or standards, and you gave me so little time that I can't even do these. That's a risk. That's a risk that we didn't even meet our own quality standards, and I'm giving you the work. Heads up. So these are some of the things to me that would be a design strategy. I wouldn't say something like a design strategy must have information architecture. You're doing information architecture no matter what. it's there. So I don't think of a strategy as necessarily pointing that out. You're going to be doing it, but those are some of the things that I think. Anybody else want to add to that? Anybody come up with a design strategy that has other components? Excuse me. And sometimes if it's even higher level, then it's a look more at like the epic, or how does what excuse me, doing on this particular product or feature coordinate with, or mesh with, or overlap something else that's happening. So that could be another way to go. But sometimes the strategy might also include who's working on this, who does what, why is the designer doing everything, why isn't the product manager wireframing. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm thinking. Let's just check if new questions came in. This this looks like a problematic email. Okay, I'll deal with that later. Um, Anyway, we've only got a few minutes left, so I just want to remind everybody to please subscribe. And I also want to remind everybody that we've been doing a webinar series, and tomorrow will be the next one. We're going to be looking at customer journey mapping and why customer journey mapping so often sucks and isn't actionable and isn't good, and what makes a customer journey map good or bad. These webinars are totally free, so check it out, cxcc.to/events. And you can RSVP. You're not put on a mailing list. Patreon is my mailing list. If you didn't join on Patreon, you're not on a mailing list. And you can join that tomorrow. And then it will be given to Patreon paying members for 2 weeks. And then it'll go live on YouTube. So you'll have to wait 2 weeks for it if you miss it tomorrow and you're not a Patreon member at least the $1 level. Which reminds me to thank our Patreon members at 3 of our 4 levels. We have nobody in the 4th level yet. Thank you so much for donating small, medium, and large amounts of money to our community and to help me continue to provide content to you many times a week. So please join our Patreon. And with that, I think I will wrap up, especially since some strange emails just came in and I want to see what's going on there. So I will see everybody tomorrow at the webinar. It won't be live on YouTube. The webinar will be in a Google Meet. So you will need to follow the events link and get that if you'd like to join tomorrow, 3 p.m. Italy time, 9 in the morning New York time. Please calculate for other times. Thanks again to everybody, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.